Thank you all of you for being here today to hear about an exciting topic of taxes. This being October, when Netflix fills us up all the scary movies, now we're going to talk about something really scary. Before I start, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been doing tax preparation work for a number of years. In 2018, I started doing crypto tax returns, and I found out that one of my tax clients from the prior year finally admitted to me he was trading crypto and made $16 million in 2017. So it was a challenge to figure out how to do the gain calculation on $250,000 of transactions using the tools available at that time. But since then, my company's grown. During season, we have about 25 employees. I have several CPAs, enrolled agents. I have a set of forensic accountants, and we do our own gain calculation for our clients. And we also have legal specialists. I enjoy the most going to battle with the IRS. At this point in time, I've defended about 40 individuals in audits before the IRS. I am not aware of anyone else in the U.S. that's near that level. I'm like a football quarterback who watches the replays of the opposing team's games before he goes in and plays against them. I study the IRS. We just finished an audit this week. The final decision was the taxpayer had to pay $3,000. It cost the IRS far more than $3,000 to attack him. He had 100,000 transactions. Coinbase said he made $15 million, and we were able to recalculate everything and get him down to a really attractive number. I have clients in 71 countries. Right now, all we do is crypto. We're very selective of who our clients are. I'm not here to talk to you about tax return preparation. I'm here to talk to you about what is happening with the IRS, how it's changing, how to prepare yourself, and to tell you about an offering we have that you might be interested in called Audit Defense Membership. I also wanted to say that about two-thirds of my salary that gets my staff get paid in Litecoin. So, they're very excited about that. Okay. I push the button and the screen changes. There you go. There you go. Third time's a charm. There's a question on the tax returns. It's been there for 4 years. This past year, this question, we call it the virtual currency question, is located right after your name and address on the top half of your tax return. That's how important the IRS has made this. Even before they ask you what your gross salary is, they want to know the answer to this question. They consider it instructional. At any time during 2021, did you receive, sell, exchange, or otherwise dispose of a financial interest in virtual currency? Yes or no? This is a very significant question. Why is it significant? Well, for a lot of reasons. Right now, based on information we got from the IRS in May that we can extrapolate based on historical trends, we're estimating that there will be 7 million taxpayers who will say yes to this question, which would assume that they're also reporting their cryptocurrency income on their tax returns. That would leave, based on estimates of the size of the crypto owner population, about 26 million taxpayers in the U.S. are either answering no or, more likely, not even filing a tax return. There's another option here. People are filing no because they're working with an accountant that automatically checks the answer no without asking you if you were a crypto trader. This is also a big issue. How does the IRS enforce these two different groups? And there. The IRS attack strategy, if you will, there's two major attack strategies. You all are familiar with the IRS doing audits. When you get audited by the IRS, it will probably take about a 2-month period of time, or probably a 2-year period of time, and it's complex. They're going to demand all your crypto records, all your bank records, all your credit card records, anything financial, and the IRS subcontracts other firms to research the data and find issues. They will dig through the blockchain addresses, a lot of different things. That's what happens on a regular audit. Now, hopefully, you did your best job to report your gains. And what happens in most tax court, most audits, unless you concede to the IRS, we will end up in tax court, and that's where we win. And I enjoy doing that. There is another category indicated by the green, which I would call people that are bulletproof, that they've prepared their tax return in such a way that they're unlikely to get audited. The IRS uses big supercomputers that they data mine for certain relationships, and when that relationship occurs, then you move over into the pile of people that they might audit. So if you anticipate those, you can make yourself bulletproof. And we've had, since 2018, what we call our bulletproof return methodology. It's a way of reporting your income in an aggressive manner, way you reclaim all the possible deductions, foreign account reporting, which is a major area of enforcement, disclosures, and that's how we treat all those different things. So we've been doing that since 2018. We're basically leading our industry on that. The other way the IRS enforces things is criminal. This is the new face of the IRS as far as crypto traders are going. When you say no on this question that's asked, and you actually have cryptocurrencies, and when you sign your tax return under penalty of perjury that it's true, correct, and complete, you have committed tax fraud. If you fail to report your cryptocurrencies, all of them, you've committed tax fraud. If you fail to file a tax return because you didn't file one last year and you don't want to report the cryptos, and whatever your reason is, that's called tax evasion. You're basically looking, either way, you're looking at a $250,000 penalty plus 3 to 5 years in prison per year that it occurs. Now, I have a video running right inside the booth there. I know my staff talks and you can't see it, but I highly encourage you to see this video. It's one of my clients. He came to me after he signed a plea bargain deal with the IRS to tax fraud, and he talks about the experience. And I'll tell you real quickly about his experience. Maybe someone here can identify with it. He had never traded cryptocurrency. He did it, the way he got his Bitcoin was from one individual. That individual those coins had never been on a public exchange, and he received a significant amount of Bitcoin from that person. He never traded his Bitcoin on a public exchange. The IRS contacted him. 2 men showed up at his door. These are the men with the guns on their hips and the badges, and they wanted to talk to him. His wife, he wasn't there. His wife dilly-dallied it, got him off, but then he had to meet him in the office. He had lawyers with him. They talked about things, and they said, we're not going to let this go. They demanded all sorts of documents, as I described. We're then into a situation where 2 years later, he received a phone call from a Department of Justice lawyer informing him that he was being indicted for tax fraud. It appears that the IRS had dusted his Bitcoin wallet, which he has no idea how they found out about it. They dusted it with Satoshis. Anytime he makes a trade, they know about it. When the IRS hits you with an indictment, there's no discussion over whether we should be reporting our cryptocurrencies using HIFO or FIFO, or what's the right way to treat staking rewards. It's down to, well, how long do you want to go to prison for? It's a quick conversation, and that's what happened. And then he did go to prison. I went to federal prison. He was indicted. He had a 1-year sentence, paid a $250,000 fine, and he had to go back and file all the past tax returns he'd been avoiding, and he was hit with late penalties on all of that. And he does all that voluntarily, all right? Whereas if we do an audit, it's a 2-year ordeal. There's a waging battle back and forth. The IRS, as I just described, often loses. But with a criminal attack, there's no defense. It's cheaper. It's more effective. IRS gets to publicize it. Yet another person, IRS caught evading taxes using cryptos, and the narrative goes on. So this is the new attack strategy. Why is this significant? The IRS commissioner told Congress that, the IRS brings in $4 trillion of revenue a year. The IRS commissioner told Congress they could bring in $1 trillion more if they gave him the funds to fund criminal enforcement against crypto owners. On August 16th, Congress gave those funds to the IRS. The IRS budget on an average year is $14 billion. Congress gave them $80 billion. $46 billion specifically earmarked towards criminal enforcement against crypto owners. Let me put this in perspective. $46 billion. This is 8 times the budget of the FBI. This is 3 times how much the federal government spends on the war on drugs. It's as much money as, I get emotional, as Biden gave Ukraine to wage war on Russia. That's how much money they're spending on us, and we are soft targets. We have no defense. We're not organized or armed, and that's the battle we are up against. The question is, how can we move from the red zone to the green zone? Or maybe you're in the yellow zone, but you feel maybe your accountant didn't do some things right, or maybe you didn't do things right. You're scared. How can I move from the yellow zone to the green zone? How can I sleep at night? Well, I want to give you some good news, is that it is possible to do that. You can move to the green zone. My next slide, I'm going to show you why. First of all, I'm going to show you why, if you're in the yellow zone where you're going to be audited, I believe I can win that audit almost all the times. My staff of forensic accountants, I talked to my manager, I said, look, let's benchmark all the crypto gain calculation services that talk about how great they are at calculating your crypto results. So we picked a client of ours who was a large trader, but he only did like 300 transactions in 2021. And he did it all on US exchanges. There were no missing records. It was really clean data. So my analysts used our reconciliation method against these services you see up here. What I found absolutely shocked us. And it wasn't expected. All of them, we thought, would come up with more or less the similar calculations. But what you see here on the left column is the total proceeds that each one of these services calculated. Now, total proceeds is the simple matter of just go through the transactions, and everybody got the same data, go through the transactions. What was the value of everything sold last year? What was the value? Everybody should at least agree on that. But as you see here, these numbers vary on this client from 1.1 million to 4.4 million. They're not in a pack, they're widely dispersed. And each one of these says, we're the best. And as you see in the middle column on total transactions, they all have a different transaction count. Now, what I want to say is, these companies all have professionals, they're experts on the blockchain. These are some of the best people out there, but let's just say that experts disagree. I'm not going to say which one of these is right or wrong. I haven't made that decision. I just want to say that which one you use affects your results. The interesting number at the right is the one everyone focuses on, is the total gain. That's what you have to pay taxes on. And what I want to draw your attention to is most of the people came in around 150 to 250 of gain. But there's 2 of them that are way out of line on the high side. Do you see those 2 companies? Guess which 2 companies are subcontracted by the IRS? Do you think the IRS would like low numbers or high numbers? I'll also tell you another relationship here. There's about, you only see two of them are about $100 apart. There's actually 4 of these that, based on other audits, tend to fall into a 1% variation. There's 4 of them. I'm not going to point them out in this slide, but none of these 4 companies that have consensus, and of course we're blockchainers, consensus is truth. These 4 companies, all foreign, and none of them have venture capital funding. So what does that tell you about the impact of venture capital funding on the accuracies of these services? Rather than improving the accuracies, they seem to have complicated it. Now, the IRS uses one of these. In an audit, under Section 7491, I don't have to prove that your amount of income reported on a tax return is correct. If you've reported in good faith, your best estimate of how much crypto income you made, I can almost always win that audit. Why? Because all I have to do is shoot holes in the IRS. And you can see this is easy to do. Now, moving on. We also did the same study on DeFi, NFTs, play to earn people. And as you see, just from a proceeds column, you can see these numbers vary basically a couple $100 million between results. And on the net gain, you can see the numbers here that calculate out. They're just all over the map. I'll tell you this, none of these services can do DeFi calculation, NFT, or play to earn. Despite what they say, what they will say is you can plug in your addresses. If you go onto their terms and conditions, you'll notice that they all say that they do not claim to be accurate. Okay? So what does this put this into? This is a big pickle. We depend on these services to calculate our gains, to put together a tax return, and none of them are accurate. We're into a very gray area in the future, and we explain how to address this on our webpage, but, oops, don't want that one. Don't need that one. But basically, what can we do to move you from red to green? I can't prepare everyone's tax returns. There's millions of people that need help. What we've done instead is we've come up with something we call the Audit Defense Membership. Because I was so passionate, how can I help as many people as possible? Our Audit Defense Membership is basically like insurance for your tax returns. If you're a member and the IRS audits you, we'll defend you at no additional cost for the entire life of that audit, and on to appeals and to tax court. It'll take a couple years, but there's no additional charge. You just remain a member. How much does it cost to be an Audit Defense member? $249 a month, $249 a month, and you're taken care of. And if you don't have Audit Defense membership and you get selected for an audit, you're into a range of around $40,000 to $60,000 just to defend yourself in the audit. The individual I just told you about, he had not been an Audit Defense member when the audit began, and he had spent $40,000. The last year or so, he was not a defense member and didn't really pay anything more. And the final decision we got for him is he only owed $3,000 with the IRS. So it's a phenomenal deal. What I want to do is to give you some action plans. You saw that chart, red, yellow, and green. Where do you think you were? Just think about that. Are you a red person, yellow, or green? I don't care how you got there. How do we get you out of there? And if you're in the red and you haven't been reporting taxes, that's a scary place because you feel like, I can't file taxes this year because I didn't file them last year and the year before that. So what do I recommend you do? If you're in the red zone, becoming an Audit Defense member, in the sign-up process that authorizes us to pull data from the IRS, we'll do that. Then let's schedule a consultation. We'll lay out an estimate of what your situation is and what strategies are available for you. What if you're in the yellow zone? Become an Audit Defense member and start feeling protected at night. If you're really concerned about your past tax returns, you can schedule an audit risk assessment. And we can look at your past 6 tax returns and lay out a plan of improvement to move you into the green zone. So I want to suggest that this is probably, you can never, doing a crypto tax return, it gets more complicated every year. But having the insurance gives you the ability to sleep at night. If you're an influencer, I want to let you know that we have a very attractive affiliate package, if you'd like to talk to me about that afterwards. We're going to be having a Ask Me Anything session tomorrow at 1, I guess right here in this salon. And I can answer any question you want. If you've known me before, nothing stops me. You ask a hard question, I'll break it down for you, we'll analyze it. So we'll be happy to talk to everyone, either in public or in private. I have my staff here. Very glad to have my manager of client services and my head tax accountant, a CPA here as well. So I have a real, if you want to go and talk to any one of them, but I highly invite you to consider protecting yourself today and start laying a plan for getting yourself into the green and staying there. The IRS is mobilized. You need a defensive strategy. Don't be a deer in the headlights. Thank you very much for your time.